Hello, Bronx friends and neighbors, and welcome to BronxTalk. The Bronx's only four-year public college, Lehman College, is undergoing a period of extraordinary growth, along with a new nursing building. The college that serves a diverse student body of more than 14,000 students, has more than 81,000 alumni, of which I am one, and offers more than 90 undergraduate and graduate programs, recently cut the ribbon on the Lehman Grand dormitories in the historic Dollar Savings Bank building that is on Fordham Road. As a proud Lehman alum who will be teaching at the college this fall, it is a joy for me to welcome the president of Lehman College to BronxTalk, President Fernando Delgado. President Delgado, nice to see you.
Good to be here, Gary.
Thanks for coming to the program. I did a little research. You came to the college 5 years ago. My perception is there has been steady growth in so many ways. Why is there this growth? What is the vision that's moving this college forward?
Well, part of the vision was let's recover from COVID, because I came towards the
That's right.
end of the middle half of COVID, and like a lot of campuses, but particularly in the Bronx, we got hit with enrollment losses, and so we knew that one priority was going to be to gain back our enrollment and to do so in a steady, sustainable way, not to just simply open the doors and gin up a bunch of numbers and then worry about retention and graduation rates. And we really have a strong team that supports students here, and so that was a easy enough conversation to have. But the second thing was, we'd had a period before COVID and into COVID where there was, relative to the institution, some instability. Previously we had two consecutive presidents that were here basically 2 decades or more. And then I was the third president in 5 years. And for a campus that has had that experience and is so young, that was a lot of instability. And so I thought about not only just trying to instill some stability as we were trying to grow out of COVID, but at the same time start putting down markers about what did we want to be in the 5th and 6th and 7th decade of our institution. And
so let's just recap. You brought in students, but then you had a vision of what it ultimately would be. It wasn't just about the numbers.
No, it's never just about the numbers, right? Because those numbers are people. So what kinds of programs are we offering for them to study? How are we meeting their needs outside of the classroom? We knew that we had to grow and accelerate what we're doing with our CUNY Cares project and our Basic Needs Center, because our students come with so many challenges, academics being in some ways the least of them. But at the same time, as we matured as an institution, one of the things that I think I saw here, and history has kind of borne us out so far, is that we were ready to be a different kind of institution. We're always going to be a vital part of the Bronx. That's in our DNA. That's what we want to be. But I think sometimes, and I don't mean in the Bronx, but broadly, people look at Lehman as, it's that 4-year school in the Bronx. And that's a fair enough description. That is
it's accurate.
It's an accurate description.
I defined it as such a moment ago.
Absolutely. But one of the things that we ought to have, that we deserve by our own record and our own individual and collective set of achievements, is what I call an academic wow factor.
Academic?
Wow
factor.
So I want students to understand that they're not just settling to come to Lehman, or they're not just here because we have a nursing program or business school, that we have incredible academic programs and outstanding faculty and staff.
And I'm going one step further because I did the show when just before the nursing building opened. Outstanding facilities in each one of the departments. It's I have to mention, because I think it was before, now we're right at the beginning of the semester for 2026, but I believe I was on campus just before just at the beginning of the 2025 season, fall season. And on the campus, there were incredible resources plainly available, whether, for example, if you are sight impaired or hearing impaired, food insecurity, all the things that are reality for people. I'm not making any judgments or anything like that. So that somebody who came here with anything in their background could find a pathway to achieve, to say, well, wait a minute, they're really going to help me. and that's that's a sincere effort.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we have a stake in the Bronx. Most of our faculty and staff have some close relationship to the institution, and
I vote yes.
There you are.
I'm an example of it.
But also to the community. And so those students that come to us, they're a fabric of that community, and we feel an obligation to make sure that we've done everything that we can to help their journey, and then they can focus on their academics.
You know, I have to ask you about this because, as you well know, I was kind of part of the campaign and the announcement of the Forever Forward campaign. Mackenzie Scott donations, first one was $30 million. If you want to talk about the second one, which we did announce, what was it that she saw out of all the, I didn't look up how many colleges there are in the United States or anywhere, that she said, you know what, this is the one I want to make, because that's $30 million plus, and I'll let you announce what the second one was. There's a really significant amount of funding.
So the $30 million, I think that happened before I arrived. I got the joy of trying to figure out.
Take the credit.
No, I got the pleasure of figuring out how to spend it with the team. But it appeared at that moment she was supporting a lot of schools that had a certain socioeconomic demographic, that had a particular mission, and that was vital to the community. And that's an easy sell for Lehman.
As you said that, I'm doing the check marks, Lehman College. Lehman College.
And so once we figured out how we were going to spend it, the first year or two, we had to send reports to her representatives, how we spent it, what impact it had. We had testimonials. And then about the third year, they said, we're good. And I think what they were doing was setting up a database. And the reason why I say that is when they then approached us again last fall, in November, it was clear, my conversations with them, that they knew a lot about us. And so
You couldn't keep it a secret, could you?
No, well, there's a lot of public information about public institutions. We show up on a lot of rankings. Our team under
national rankings, I'm aware of it.
And our team under Associate Vice President Richard Relkin have done a very consistent job of messaging our impact and our positives. So it's easy for their representatives to find. One of the things they said is that perhaps unlike other institutions that they had looked at or had supported, is that we delivered on what we said we were going to deliver. That there was a consistency with...
Kept your promise.
We kept our promise, and we kept assessing that promise. And so it was apparently comparatively easy for them to say, quite literally, President Delgado, how would you like $50 million? That's literally how the representative...
I was waiting for you to say that.
That's literally how they said it. And I was on a Zoom call with them, and I happened to be doing it from my kitchen table. And my wife happened to be sitting about 15 feet to my right, and I said on the Zoom call, "Can you just give me a couple of seconds?" And I put him on pause, and I stood up and I walked that direction towards my wife.
Tears streaming down your face.
Well, not tears, but a weird look on my face. And my wife turned around and said, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, the people on the phone call just asked me if I wanted $50 million. And then she looked at me more puzzled, and she's like, "Why are you standing over here by me instead of back on the call?" And I said, no, I just needed a second.
And that's why I didn't want to mention it, because I recall at the Forever Forward announcement, you said every one of you should have the feeling of like picking up the phone and somebody saying, "We're going to give you $50 million. And so, anyway, congratulations. All right, let's talk about the Lehman Grand.
Sure.
How long has the college been working on this concept? Now, I understand other CUNY colleges do have dorms, and as far as I'm concerned, we should be first. Nonetheless, what was the thing? What led up to this wonderful moment of the ribbon cutting?
So, several years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were approached by the developer and a representative of CUNY Central. And we had a brief chat, and they sent us some material. And we looked at it, and we said, the current terms, that's too rich for our blood. And we weren't sure. And okay, and they went away for a while. And then they came back a little bit more than a year ago, and maybe it's now a year and a half. And they said, "New terms, what do you think about this?" And I brought it to the cabinet, and I said, "Look, I think we need to have this tool in our arsenal as we move forward. and we think about where enrollments are going to come from and how do we support students who are from out of the region, out of the city, but also how do we support those students who come from the city who are looking for a particular kind of college experience where they need housing.
And they need housing. That's a very interesting distinction. I want to just mention, and we have pictures of it, the historic Dollar Savings Bank building. Now, I have to tell you, having grown up in the Bronx, I recall they used the Dollar Savings Bank to teach us how to save money.
Yep.
So I believe that I made like 50-cent deposits at the dollar in the beautiful Dollar Savings Bank. So it's a historic building. Who are the students who are going to be having the opportunity? Can any student apply and
Sure.
potentially get in?
Yeah, I think the way we have it set up with the lease agreement, because it's not our building, it's a developer's building, is that obviously our students have first access, but we've reached out to our 2 community college partners and said, look, if you have a need and it fits and we have space, your students can come here. We can, if we choose to, go to one or more of the other private schools if they have some housing needs. But right now we're trying to get our feet underneath us.
Yeah, and you can see and now the developer we should give credit to is MADD Equities, and they're the same people involved in the Kingsbridge Armory, which is an interesting point of view from their point of view and from Lehman's point of view.
They're also part of the post office renovation for Hostos Community College as well.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. So in the planning of this, what was behind? I mean, you look at it, gee, I'm ready to move in. What was behind this, the design that you wanted and presumably achieved?
I mean, we wanted something contemporary. To the extent that we could, we wanted something that would cash flow as we move into the seasons. Residence halls that might have been to standard 40 years ago, most young people now won't tolerate.
Well, they won't feel comfortable.
Two people in a room, double loaded hallways, a gang shower at the end of each hallway. Those are still prevalent on many campuses. I've worked on several institutions that was our workhorse residence halls. But our students, I think, expect a different kind of experience. And we also wanted to create senses of community because there could be some opportunities for us to build, if you will, major-related learning communities there where they're cohorts of students.
Even in that building?
Yeah, so students could come into the building as a cohort and then maybe join a cohort. I mean, that's several years in the future of us sort of figuring that out. But there is a way where we could take students. For example, some of our athletics coaches are very excited about this prospect, and they will want to cluster their athletes from particular teams because they'll be easier to manage and perhaps easier to create a sense of cohesion and team unity that way. But you can do the same thing with academic majors.
Well, yes, but that's fascinating. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, when I heard that it was going to be in the Dollar Savings Bank, I don't know how many floors it is. How many floors does Lehman have? And then based on what you just said, are there opportunities to say, well, okay, now we'll take another floor, and that's when we'll put in an academic?
We have the whole tower.
The whole tower?
So what is it, 9 floors?
And, wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware.
So adjacent to us, there is a grocery store.
Yes,
and it's a fascinating grocery store because they have these amazingly tall ceilings, and they left the murals.
That was one of my questions because those are landmarked and gorgeous. And so the supermarket has the murals?
Yeah.
I got to go over there.
Yeah. It's a really wonderful vibe because it's a very contemporary supermarket, and then you stand there, and it's these wonderful,
one of
murals.
the issues for traditional colleges, maybe private colleges elsewhere, I don't want to talk down anybody's institution, but it's isolated. It's kind of secular that everybody's within the thing, everything's on campus, whatever. If a student goes down to Fine Fair, they're in the Bronx because these are Bronx people. Yeah. And to me, of course, given what I do for a living and everything else, Bronx culture is so vibrant and so interesting and so educational, especially for people maybe from out of town, that they really will, I hate to use the word integrated, they would be part of this vibrant culture where you learn about people and everybody's there. I mean, I don't have to sell it to you.
Look, the Bronx.
I'm excited. I have to tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Bronx kids will know the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
They may not have been in the neighborhood, but they will know the neighborhood. I think the wonderful opportunity is if we get students from out of the city, out of state, international students, there are enough restaurant and retail amenities in that neighborhood that they can walk up and down the block and get most of their needs met. Now, they may not be perfect in the sense I was looking for this particular store, fair enough. But if you look at that block, 2 blocks south, 1 block north, it's pretty well positioned.
And pretty well would be an understatement. Fordham Road, you may not know, is the longest single shopping district in the city, because from top to bottom. You know, you talk north and south. I'm thinking the east and west is, of course, incredible. So now, how many students are there?
We've got, I think, 70 right now. We're hoping to get up to 80 or 90 this first year.
I think in the materials I read that the capacity at the moment was 180.
Yeah.
And where do you have a percentage of where they come from? Some are from the Bronx, some are from elsewhere.
I haven't seen the demographics yet, but I will probably in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I'm sure
my impression will be the vast majority are from the Bronx, and then we've got some maybe from Westchester. I think so, because we came into the market quite late. We were, for a variety of reasons.
Which market are we talking about?
The market of where am I going to live to go to college in the fall. So we had hoped to start marketing to that potential student population way back in January and February. We ended up getting there, closer to June. So the fact that we have, upwards of 70 students has been a pretty heroic effort from our staff and our cabinet.
Well, it also speaks to the fact, if you sell a product and it starts going off the shelves, then you've got a pretty good product. Yeah. I'm very interested in the marketing concept because certainly anybody traditionally, even myself, when we went to Lehman College, this was the city school, et cetera, et cetera. So now the marketing expands a little bit. You're looking further outward. I'm just curious how you envision it, or you still keep it in New York City and let people kind of find out what we're doing.
No, I think we've been intentional over the last several years of looking at the tri-state in particular as being an opportunity for us. So as we push up through Westchester and beyond, but also as we look across the bridge to Jersey and recognize that Stamford is a 40-minute train ride. So there are clusters and opportunities for us, given our program array, and frankly the quality of the campus to pull students in.
And you know what else, which is a selling point, and is the kind of selling point I would personally really value for somebody you use, let's say Stamford, Connecticut. They get, I want to be in New York City. And maybe I don't want to be downtown with NYU, and it's a little high price, but I'm like a regular person. I want to feel real culture. What can I tell you? Where else? Fordham Road in the Bronx. Sure.
So I think one of the things that is underappreciated, or perhaps taken for granted, but still as a relative outsider, anybody can have any stereotypes they want about New York City or even the Bronx, and that's
don't start me.
And that's stereotypes are what they are, overgeneralizations and oversimplifications. Right. But as we generally find out, you come to our campus and you stand in the middle of Lehman College campus, and you look around, and the first or second thing out of your mouth is probably some version of, "I didn't expect this to be here." Right?
Keep going.
So if we can attract those students who want to be on a place that looks and feels like a traditional college campus, but at the same time is embedded in, at least in the United States, probably the most radically urban landscape that the 5 boroughs are, ground zero, right?
And if you walk, I'm preaching to the choir, but if you walk from end to end, at the one end of Carmen Hall and then all the way over to the Apex, and you say, wait a minute, this is really kind of a nice place. Let's just talk about the affordability. I mean, if I remember correctly, and I did not research this at the moment, Lehman is one of the most affordable institutions in the nation. And then I saw the numbers, if you want to quote the numbers for the suite, I saw the numbers in an article. This is as affordable a dorm situation as you are going to find anywhere.
Yeah, we're still. I don't want to say we're struggling with the price point. Here's what we're struggling with, Gary. We're struggling with identifying the students who need a little bit more financial need, and we're in the process of looking at how we're going to most effectively use that Mackenzie Scott money. So one of the things on the table is for students who qualify and who want to be in the dorm, can we scholarship them? Can we discount them? Can we do something to reduce that price? Because we do know that no matter what you pay, you're paying out of pocket. And you're absolutely right. I mean, in-state and out-of-state tuition at CUNY and at Lehman is a bargain for the value you get. And I say that as somebody who's come from other institutions in other states. But housing is one of those things that people in New York City rightfully are very sensitive about. And so we're sorting that out even as we're moving into this first year.
As a parent and parent of two no longer youngsters who have graduated college, and I know what the student loan thing turns out, the fact that you're able to say, well, wait a minute, I mean, I don't know if I can just say it, it's $9,000 for a standard suite, to say that you'll be able to attend this as a parent, to say, well, wait a minute, it's not going to cost me a $300,000 loan, which is never going to be paid off, to be able to get my child to get a real grassroots education about the world, and then, of course, which we'll talk about in a moment, all the high-level academic programs. You know, it's congratulations. I mean,
Thank you. No, we're proud of what we are. I want to make this clear, though.
Mm-hmm.
We never say we're perfect at Lehman, and we're not perfect in the first month of our residence hall, but we're on the road to better and excellent. And as we go along that road, part of what we're going to develop is something that we didn't have before. So you pointed out, it's the first residence hall, real residence hall for us. We don't have a lot of people with experience with residence halls, but in 5 years, we'll have an entire campus that has experience with residence halls. And so one of the things that this hall allows us to do is it allows us to stretch ourselves professionally and think about students in different ways and think about services and delivery of education in different ways. And so I think we'll be a better institution 5 years from now.
You know, I hadn't thought about this till you brought it up just a few moments ago. The notion of athletics and the notion of teams or teammates being together, mm-hmm. as opposed to having to take the subway or take the bus, yep. or walk or whatever it is to get together and find. But now they can live together, and of course that breeds a better team. I mean, listen, we all want to win, but we all know the real value of what sport is.
But again, you're absolutely right. But we're Division III, and we care about community. So it's not an athletics dorm. It's a dorm where athletes can be at, surrounded by our traditional students. And so there's still going to be a fabric, a part of our community. Yes, we want them to build esprit de corps. We want them to have great experiences. But we also want them to feel part of the greater Lehman community. And I say that as somebody who's come from Division I schools where you have an entire village that's separate from all the other students.
This is what I was talking about a moment ago. Forgive us all for not talking about the extraordinary academic programs here. You have a new undergraduate program in education, so students can be ready to take their teaching certifications. You want to talk about that, or just talk about the broadening of the opportunities? And what I've noticed is not only is there a business program, but then the business program is broken into specialties that people can really do, which you need, of course, in today's world.
So the education program is a great example of what we do here. So if you ever walk up to the provost's office, he has a whiteboard, and he has a bunch of degree programs, undergraduate and graduate degrees. And they're part of the conversations we're moving towards. If you look at them, they're all intellectually sound. Equally important, they're all responsive to needs. Job needs, economic needs.
You started the show talking about that, right. And that's what we're talking. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, you know, our students want to get into that workforce with the skills that they need as quickly as they can. So if you look at the education program, they're going to get a powerful grounding in the foundational components of education. And they're going to be prepared to take that step more quickly. Not by cutting corners, but by going through a rigorous, comprehensive curriculum. That's what we do in nursing. It's what we do in social work. It's what we do in biology. And so our job isn't to just churn out people with diplomas. Our job is to churn out people who can be successful in professional fields.
All right, so we're just about out of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to use myself. I was an English major. I was an English major at Lehman College. And I remember soon after I had graduated and I had started my career in broadcasting, they brought me in to talk to English majors. What can you do with being an English major? Well, I can only tell you, studying urban literature, studying classic literature and Shakespeare and all the other things that you're supposed to do, that's what prepared me to do this work that I've done for 3 decades here.
Yeah.
We're ready to sum up. I'm tempted to ask what's next, but there's so much. There's so much now that I don't know if you have time to think of what's next.
What's next is our accreditation visit, and on the heels of that, we're preparing our next strategic plan. And so there'll be some components there that already are sort of on the ground. One is to increase our research capacity and be designated a Research 2 institution, which gives us a national profile. And the second is this conversation. It's a little bit more, not ambiguous, broad, which is how do we become the premier Hispanic serving institution or the premier minority serving institution, particularly with that R2 status, because there aren't that many of us in the country that have that. That is straight to who our students are and have been for decades, but also what are we doing with them in and out of the classroom? What is happening when our faculty engage them, and acknowledging that tradition, which is a very powerful tradition at Lehman College. I think those are going to be 2 of the core components. And then the question that's on the table is, there's always a desire to grow, but at some point we have to figure out what's the actual capacity of this campus to manage students.
What? It's not endless?
It is not endless. It is not endless. And
I'm going to add one more thing, and I've told people I think this is absolutely brilliant. I'm teaching a course in oral communications because the administration at the college realized that I'm moving quick because we're almost out of time, if you graduate with a business degree, a nursing degree, whatever that degree is, but you don't speak well, you're not going to interview well, and then certainly when it comes time to make a presentation or a nursing student to work, to talk to patients, they need to learn how to speak, and I'm thrilled and honored that you've brought me on to do it. But it's the germ of the idea, how can we help our students do better? And that's what Lehman College is all about.
always.
Fernando Delgado, President
Thank you.
Delgado, it's a pleasure. It's also nice to meet a president who's kind of a nice guy.
I think most of us are nice guys. But
All right. Well, you have your own community there. Anyway, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. You know you'll see me around, I'm sure. That concludes the program. We want to thank our producer, Leticia Carrion, as well as thanks to our Bronxnet production and editing team. And, of course, to you two. He knows, I know, you know it's always about the people of the Bronx. We'll see you next week.